Hello, everyone. Welcome to Calling Glass. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the pod. My name is Alvaro, as always. And today in the podcast, reactions to a fantastic round one of the playoffs and preview of two series of the conference semifinals. Let's see it. Hello, welcome back. Welcome to the podcast. Like I said, today I will run through some series that have finished or are about to finish. Maybe they have finished already because when I post this, it's already too late. But it's still interesting what I need to say about those. And I will preview a couple of series from the East, both conference semifinals. But before that, I will start with some news around the NBA. First one is that, yesterday, it depends when you hear that, so probably not yesterday, but a few days ago, the great Greg Popovich announced that he will retire from coaching in basketball. Greg Popovich, who coached for 29 seasons in the NBA, last year, November 2024, is when he coached his last game because he had some sort of stroke, so he stopped after that in November. And he wanted to come back to the bench. He wanted to be back in the locker room, but he has decided to switch locker room for the office, and he will now be the president of operations, of basketball operations for the San Antonio Spurs. More news. Different kind of news. The Indiana Pacers have agreed with John Halliburton, Tyrese Halliburton's father, that he will no longer be in the stadium for the games of Indiana, both in the playoffs. After the altercation in between him and Giannis, in which he went all the way to Giannis' face in the court and waved the T-shirt of his son on his face, which I think is which I think no one should do that. A fan could do it from the stand, not in the court. And a father should even less do that, a father of a player. And yeah, Indiana Pacers have told him, I guess, that he should no longer be in presence in the stadium. And I was reading this, Shams Charania knew, and one guy in Twitter said that dude got himself banned from the best seats in the house, which is kind of funny. It's true. He had the best seats, and he can no longer be there because he did this stupid thing. Last three, I have one more bad news also about Indiana Milwaukee. Damian Lillard torn his Achilles tendon in the in the fourth game of the series. So it's been a few days, but I didn't mention it. And this is very bad news for the league, for Lillard, for Milwaukee, because this is probably the hardest injury to come back. And we will see I don't know if we will see Damian Lillard next season. Definitely not at the start of the season. And let's see if we see him by the halfway of the next season. And also let's see which Lillard we see. I'm repeating the word see. But let's see. Yeah, because this is a hard injury and I don't know how he will come back. Last three news related to the awards, the NBA Trophy Awards. Dyson Daniels has won the Most Improved Player of the NBA season. Evan Mobley has won the Defender of the Year for the NBA, which he's lucky that Wemby didn't play enough games. And Dyson Daniels probably, not that he won, he was also one of the candidates for the Defensive Award. I think probably the voters, when they saw that he was not getting the Defensive Award, probably maybe that played something in giving him the Most Improved Player. And then the Rookie of the Year was given to Stephon Castle from the San Antonio Spurs. I feel like he also got lucky because Jared McCain from the Philadelphia 76ers was looking great, but he also torn his ACL. But yeah, that's all for news. We move on to the first series that I want to comment. Is the series that already ended in 6 games. New York Knicks versus Detroit Pistons. So I want to talk about this Detroit versus Knicks series. To me, the best series of the round one of the playoffs. Amazing, spectacular play, tough, physical, clutch performances in final minutes. It was really exquisite. In my opinion, some games went too bit out of hand. Like the referee should have used the whistles a bit more. But overall, fantastic series. The best one that I have seen in these playoffs. The last game, the game 6 in Detroit, in the Little Caesars Arena, finished with 116 to 113 for the Knicks, with the last play, the three-pointer by Branson. I'm going to comment a bit this game. Kate Cunningham finished with 23 points, but 0 from 8. 0 of 8 from the three-point line. Jalen Duren, great game, 21 points. Dennis Ruder from the bench, very good. 9 assists and 9 points. And Malik Beasley, 6 3-pointers, 20 points. And plus 17 with him on the court, Detroit. I want to start talking about this Detroit and I want to make a criticism of Cade Cunningham and the Detroit Pistons. Why? Well, I will start with by the end. During the game, he didn't hit any single three-pointer. And he didn't, neither he converted his drives to the rim. On the other hand, his mid-range game, his fadeaways and his mid-range game was working. He was being effective with that. And in the final play, when there were 40 seconds left, game was tied, and he decided to attack the rim with OG waiting for him. And he missed a lefty layup. Lefty kind of hard finish. And then Branson hit the three-pointer. Except for game 2. So in game 2, Cade had a great game because they were able to switch his defender via screens, and the Knicks switched on him, and it was usually Mikal Bridges and not Anunoby. And Bridges or with other defenders, Cade was great. But after that game 2, the Knicks started to let him, pass the block, the screen as a fourth man, and let him go under the screen with him and let him shoot. And he was not making the shots, and he was not shooting confidently. And against OG, Cade was not playing well. Not only that, so that's to me one error of him not actually being conscious of what he's doing good and what he's not. Detroit kept trying to start the offense with this pick and roll or this screen for Cade to play one-on-one or play the pick and roll, but it was not working well because they were not switching and they were going under and Cade couldn't shoot. Also Cade, I saw him a bit very calm, which is good, but at the same time I felt like he was not learning from the errors he was committing during the game. I saw him a bit also, being calm is good, but I saw him a bit like flat in the mindset. Like whatever. I don't know. I felt a bit little passion on him. I would have liked to see him a bit more connected to the game and trying to, be more conscious of what's working and what's not working for him. Also defensively, I saw that a lot of times he's going for the block instead of trying to stop the man. I saw it a lot in the fast breaks. And to be honest, he's a big guy and kind of athletic, but not athletic enough to do that in the NBA, to be honest, in my opinion. For example, in the final play, I think in my opinion, now it's easy to say, of course, but I would have given the ball better to Schroeder. Schroeder was great during the series, very effective and knocking down key shots. And playing one-on-one, maybe it would have been better to give him the ball. But also, it's easy to say. What else about Detroit? Ausar Thompson. He's a great defender, but also he takes away a lot in offense because he cannot shoot. He plays well, this kind of like in the dunker spot. He plays well without the ball, but he cannot shoot and he cannot even really create for others, and he cannot even shoot mid-range. He needs to dunk it. And to me, taking into consideration that you have Jalen Duren also, and Cade who cannot shoot, that's 3 guys in the lineup for Detroit that cannot shoot, and that creates a problem in the offense. When Schroeder was on the court instead of Ausar Thompson, Detroit was playing much better. It is true that in the second half, Ausar Thompson did great in Jalen Brunson, playing defense. And I think he should play, by the way. But I would have switched and played. Well, I think they did already, but during the whole series, I would have played more with Dennis Schroeder and less with Thompson, and used Thompson more as like a spark from the bench, in my opinion. Who else now in the good side? I think Malik Beasley was maybe not good all the games, but pretty good some games. This last game he was pretty good, 6 3-pointers. Tobias Harry surprised me. He played very, very good in this series, I think. He was tough. He played as a veteran. Good defense in Karl Anthony Towns, knocking down shots in the offense. I really liked him. I think he was key for Detroit. And I also think Tim Hardaway Jr. had a great performance this series, especially considering that in the last year or the last years, he was not playing with Dallas. And now to see him starting and playing in a good role and knocking down important threes, that was pretty impressive to me. I have to say, though, that Detroit has looked very inexperienced against these Knicks. In I think 5 out of the 6 games, they were winning during the whole game or like until the last minutes, and then they blew it away. They were not executing good in the final minutes. And they were sometimes tricked. I don't know how to say it, but New York was smarter than them. A bit like, yeah, they were smarter than them, and the inexperience or naiveness caught Detroit. And that's true. And in Game 6, actually, they didn't deserve to win. Even though during the whole game, they were losing. Then they went on a run and they were up. But then they lost. And actually, they didn't deserve, in my opinion, to win. Like Game 1, Game 2, probably most of the games. This one, actually, they didn't deserve to win. And now, moving on to the Knicks. Let's start with, the Knicks are mentally tough, very tough. And they are a smart team with a lot of talent. Although, in my opinion, it's not fully utilized. I will talk more about that in the preview that I will do of Knicks Boston. Brunson was on fire in this game from the start, scoring a lot, although shooting a lot. 33 field goal attempts, which is a lot. The key plays, obviously, for him was the one the 3-pointer that he does the crossover on Thompson and he shoots wide open 3-pointer and he makes it with 3 seconds left. Amazing. Probably the most epic shot of these players so far. And then there is one that he's falling down in the basket twice, and he's able to maintain his balance and make the layup. I don't know how. I don't really know how this guy does it. I have to say that I don't really like Brunson. I think, in my opinion, he flops. He flops a lot, actually. Every time that he's being pressured, he falls down into the floor, trying to draw a foul. Or when he attacks the rim, he's always shooting and falling down. And I don't like that. I think he's trying to be too smart. And I think, I don't like that. But on the other hand, I have to say that when he makes certain shots, like the 3-pointer or other shots, I need to shut up because that's great. And I cannot complain about that. That's real, pure basketball. And when he does that, there's nothing to say. For me, it's just more when he falls down and flops all the time. What else? Anunoby. What a beast. What a F beast. This guy is impressive. He's also, in my opinion, should be a candidate for best defensive player of the year. Amazing defense on Cade Cunningham. Rebounds. Knocking down key shots when the possession was running down. Really amazing. And then he has some moves, one-on-one moves. It's true that he's not the most aesthetic player, but he gets it done and he's very effective. To me, right now that I think about it, he's the better version of Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges, we talk about him as a 3-and-D player, tough defense, knocking down threes, some one-on-one. And I feel like Anunoby does that, but better than Mikal Bridges, which I never thought about it. And I would have never guessed that. I actually thought that Mikal Bridges was better, but not at all. Anunoby, he was for sure the 3rd best player, maybe the 2nd best player in some games. Although Karl Anthony Towns still a great offensive weapon. And that's all I wanted to say for this series, the Knicks and Detroit. Hopefully Detroit learns from this. Hopefully Cade grows and practice his 3-pointers. and we see them in the playoffs again next year. Now we move on to the next series that I want to comment on, that they are not finished yet. Maybe yes they are when I publish this. We will see. But I still want to talk about it. Is the Denver Nuggets versus the Los Angeles Clippers. Last game that I watched was Game 6, which Clippers took it by 111 to 105 in the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles. The key to this game was the turnovers. Like Denver, 5 more turnovers than Clippers, and Clippers punished that with 23 points out of turnovers for only 10 of Denver. In my opinion, Denver came out a bit passive to this game, like knowing that if they lost, it was fine because they have one more game at home. And Clippers came out a bit more aggressive, a bit more stressed, let's say, in a good way. Although they are not the most emotional team, the Clippers, neither. But you could see that they were a bit more pressured to win. And yeah, I feel like Denver was a bit too soft. Let's start with Denver stats. Jamal Murray, he scored 21 points, 8 assists, 9 of 19 shooting, very good. Jokic, 11 of 22 on shooting, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists. Aaron Gordon, 19 points. Christian Brown, 14 points. Westbrook from the bench, 14 and 6 assists. The stats are good, but the truth is that Denver was not that good. I want to make a clear criticism here to Denver, and it's that they have got Jamal Murray, who is right now in a great form after Game 5. He's really feeling it. They also got Michael Porter Jr., who doesn't miss open, or not even doesn't miss threes. This guy shoots, doesn't matter if he's open or not. He catches the ball and he shoots over the defender and he knocks them down. And they barely use them. It's like they let the defense decide what they do in offense. And the defense is denying Jamal Murray. The defense is not denying Michael Porter Jr., but they don't use him. I don't know why. And the defense were playing like, this kind of denial on Jamal Murray, Chris Dunn, and then Batum. And they decide just to go with it. Like, that's fine. Just play through Jokic all the time, and that's okay. I get that Michael Porter Jr. can be frustrating at times, because it's true that he sometimes like makes a turnover easily, or he loses a rebound, or he bounces on his foot. But on the other side, sometimes he just catches the ball out of nowhere and makes 2-3 pointers in a row. Then he grabs an offensive rebound. Then he makes a block. So I think he's that kind of player. He does very good things and very bad things. So I think you need to live with that. You need to use it for the good things. If you only keep it in the court to win the corner and then play defense, you are not utilizing him, and he's actually not that effective. I think that. And then Murray, he was coming from a phenomenal game. Amazing. You can tell that he's fresh. His legs are working. He's like Bubble Murray. He's like knocking down the shots. He's elevating on his shots. But as soon as they just face guard him, Denver is like, okay, we'll just not use him. And when I think about this, I think, for example, about Stephen Curry and the Warriors. They face guard Stephen Curry all game, and the Warriors are not like, okay, let's just play without him. No, they make the plays, and they make screens, and they try to involve him in shots, and they give him shots. And it works out. And I don't know why Denver doesn't do that. Denver, they don't have many shooters, and they struggle a lot with opening the court, especially having Jokic. It would be great to have shooters, and they don't have many shooters in quantity. But in quality, in my opinion, these two guys are two of the best shooters in the NBA. And I feel like they are not valuing that. On a lot of possessions, the teammates, they don't even look for MPJ or Murray. I remember one possession that Christian Brown, he made shots, but he received in the 3-point line. Next to him, it was Jamal Murray also. They were both open, and he decides to shoot himself. But I don't know why they don't, comparing again with Golden State. If Curry is open next to you, you give him the ball. It doesn't matter who you are. And I think Christian Brown, knowing that he's not a 3-point specialist, he can knock them down. He's doing okay. But you have Jamal playing at a great level. You should give him the ball for sure. And I feel like they're not using them. I feel like they should run much more plays to for catch and shoot for Michael Porter Jr. and they should run many plays for Jamal Murray, especially in transition. What else? Well, yeah. Finally, thing I want to say, I feel like Denver had an advantage and has an advantage with Jokic. Jokic can do everything for them. He can run the court. He can grab the ball and play as a point guard. He can play in the post. He can knock threes. He can create for others. But if you start to just that's the only thing that you propose, that's the only thing you do, that's the whole offense, the defense starts to learn, and then they just have to be good at that. What I mean is, like, if you start only using that advantage and you don't use the others that you have, you start losing. I think it's better to run the offense through Jokic, but if all the time you run the offense through Jokic, then you're not utilizing, like I said, Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal. I think in transition you should give the ball to Jamal Murray many times, and they didn't do it. And they just get obsessed with Jokic, which, of course, he's the best player in the world, but again, I feel like you should not only play through Jokic. If not, it becomes a bit easier to play defense. Then what else about Denver? Yes, DeAndre Jordan shouldn't be playing, but mostly because he doesn't even try. He doesn't go after rebounds. He doesn't want to play. So I don't think they should play him. That's all. Like, just effort, pure effort. He's not there. And then from the players that are not playing, Julian Strother, I don't know why he's not getting minutes. I remember during the regular season, he was like a decent player. He was adding some high-level minutes. He was knocking down threes. I don't understand why he's not playing. Nothing. You could play him, see if he knocks down a couple of threes. If he doesn't, you bench him again. But I think it would be a good asset to have. Now, let's finish with Denver. One more thing. Actually, it's kind of another critique. And this one is targeted at Nikola Jokic. I feel like he has had a mediocre game, even though he did 25, 8, and 8. To me, it was not a great game. He had some good moments and bad moments. He made good actions, but he also did a lot of turnovers and bad shots. And especially I want to talk about the last play, or almost the last play of the game, when Denver gets the rebound. They are down by 5. Clippers miss, and Denver gets the rebound with 40 seconds left. If you are down by 5 and there is 40 seconds left, the key here is to get a quick bucket. So you get the distance to 3 or to 2 points, and there is still time for a full 24 seconds offense of Clippers, and then you have still some time to get a last shot, right? So you can score, get it to 3, for example, then play defense, 24 seconds, get the rebound, timeout, and then you have a last position to tie the game. What happens in this position? I don't know who gets the rebound, but then Jokic gets the ball. He goes in transition. He's not the quickest guy. We know that. And then he starts attacking a hard layup. He shoots already when there is less than 24 seconds left. So it really doesn't matter because then you have to fall. But he also misses the layup. In my opinion, this is a poor reading lecture of the game. With that many, or with that, you probably would have been much better to give the ball to Jamal Murray in transition. Let him run, let him get a shot off quicker, instead of you trying to attack the rim again and doing it so a bit slower and, taking so many seconds. So yeah, I feel like that was a very bad read by Jokic. Extra note, last note, I don't know why, but Nuggets missed 3 wide open layups. 1 dunk of Westbrook, 1 layup of Westbrook, and then 1 layup by Peyton Watson, although he actually cleaned it up after, but still, I don't know what happened there. Now let's move to the Los Angeles Clippers. I have 2 things. The bad. In the final minutes, their offense was terrible. Harden dribbling for 20 seconds, everything super static, and they didn't get any baskets. It's true that Tyronn Lue and the Clippers like to run plays to get players into their spots, as he says. They like Kawhi on the elbow, on 3-point line, playing the 1-on-1. They like Harden on the isolation in the isolation of the 3-point line, or playing the pick and roll with Zubac. But I feel like sometimes they overdo it, especially when the defense is already set for that. and they were just running that, and they didn't get anything out of it in the final minutes. The good thing that they did this game, the adjustment of switching and putting Batum in the lineup instead of Chris Dunn. Denver and the defender of Chris Dunn was completely letting him open and going to help on the other guys. And Dunn was not making shots. He made some shots in the 5th game, but he was not making shots on the 6th game. Putting Batum changed the whole dynamic of the game because Denver couldn't help or overhelp that much because Batum can knock it down. And it's true that in defense, Batum was pretty good. Maybe not as good as Dunn in Jamal Murray, but Batum is pretty decent still. Not only that, he will also play defense instead of Ben Simmons. So instead of Dunn and Simmons, Batum played both roles. So he was playing defense on Jokic and actually blocked him twice. So actually, amazing game by Batum. He played 34 minutes. He scored 2 3-pointers, 6 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and 3 blocks, and a plus 11 for the Clippers. Also, other players, Kawhi was doing his thing. He also had a good game, not an amazing game like that one that he didn't miss, but he missed very little. He had 27 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Great game from Harden as well. He was hitting the threes. He looked fresh. He had his legs under him for this game. And then Norman Powell, poster dunk, amazing. And then he also knocked down the 3-pointers, open 3-pointers he had, and he had a very good game, 24 points. About this series, one more thing I want to make a comment is about the physicality. The physicality level of this series is kind of a joke compared to others. If you compare this series intensity compared with Knicks versus Detroit or Orlando and Boston or Rockets and Warriors, this is a joke. Both teams are playing very soft, I would say. And actually thinking about this, thinking that the Oklahoma, they're going to face each other, whoever wins from Denver and Clippers and Oklahoma doesn't come from playing a tough series, neither. And I feel like that semifinal is not going to be super tough. I feel like whoever comes from that side of the bracket versus the bottom side of the bracket of the West, so either Rockets, Warriors, or Timberwolves, the intensity level is going to be completely different, and the physicality level. So I think there is going to be an advantage for team of the West coming from the part of the bracket of Warriors, Rockets, or Timberwolves compared to the side of the bracket. Now, maybe this game has been played already, probably yes, but I'm recording this before Game 7 of Clippers and Denver is being played. I want to make a prediction here, but first I need to start a bit back with the criticism of Jokic. I feel like Jokic sometimes disappoints me. He doesn't go always 100%. He plays it he doesn't play hard all the time. When he knows that there is another game, he relaxes a bit and he doesn't push as much. When he's above 10, winning by 10, he relaxes a bit. When he's losing by 10 or when he knows that this is the last game and if not they go home, he plays 100%. But if not, he doesn't. And I think this is an issue because when you play with fire, you end up getting burned. Like, sure, you have a Game 7 now at home. But what if Kawhi goes for 40 points and doesn't miss a shot? You're done. You should play hard every game, and every game should be for you a final, and that's not the mentality of Jokic. Probably he's unconscious, but he should work on that. But he doesn't. And it's always like that. He plays so many Game 7s, I think, in his life, because he doesn't take Game 6 as serious as Game 7. Having said that, I expect a great performance by him in the Game 7 because that's what he likes to do. That's what he usually does. And I think Denver will win at home, Game 7. But also having Murray like this, hopefully they give him the ball, but having Murray this level of confidence and this level of physical level, I think Denver has an advantage. So I will say that they will win at home. But like I said, who knows if Kawhi goes crazy and starts scoring all the 3-pointers and then you lose. So yeah, you never know. Like I said, I think Denver wins, but let's see what Kawhi does. And we fly to Texas, to Houston, to the series that is still alive. We have the seventh game 7 tonight, Sunday, in between Golden State Warriors and Houston Rockets. Horrible game 5 by Warriors, and in the game 6, very bad last quarter for them by Golden State. Caris was good, G. Butler was also good, but that's it. The rest of the shooters for Golden State were not making shots. Quinn Post was not making shots. Posiemski was not making shots. Buddy Hield, no. The only one who was good out of the rotation was Moses Moody, who had a very good first half. Second half a bit colder. And from the Houston side, very solid game. Van Vliet was still on fire from game 5, making very tough shots. A lot of zone defense by Houston to Golden State. It's true that Golden State was scoring more or less, but I feel like Houston liked the zone defense. They felt comfortable in that defense, even though it was not like, they were not making Golden State go 0 from 10, but they were still making them struggle enough for Houston to be happy playing that defense. And they were playing many times with two bigs, with Sengun and with Steven Adams. Adams hurt so much the small ball Warriors, in the rebounds, defensively, and also protecting the paint. He was key, I think, Steven Adams, against these Warriors, because Warriors have, apart from playing small ball, they also play sometimes with Quentin Post, but he's also, let's say, a weak center. And then, talking about Adams, Warriors did hack Adams for, I think, the end of the second quarter, end of the third quarter, and end of the fourth quarter. In my opinion, this was a mistake that they probably will learn about it. Will learn from it. Adams was getting 1 point out of all the trips to the free throw line, which is more or less his average in free throws. But if you look at how many points per average an NBA team gets per possession, it's also 1 point, more or less. The teams usually score around 110, 115 points, and the possessions in a game are around 100. So the average of points per possession is also 1. So what you're doing when you're doing a hack Adams is that you're just flattening out the game and making them score as in average. That's what you're doing. It's true that you're getting more possessions, but you're not really, you're just like stopping the game, getting the minutes to pass by, but you're not really changing anything. And that's the problem, that if you stop the game, you don't give the possibility to Houston to start missing shots. You don't give the possibility to Houston to lose balls. You don't give the possibility to your team to play good defense and get some stops. And then you don't have the possibility to run in transition or run in fast break. And they were playing against a zone. So that's even more important, that you can get the ball quick and run through the court before that the zone can get set up. So I think it was a huge mistake to do the hack Adams. It didn't work, obviously. I think it would be more interesting to do the hack Adams if you are winning. If you are winning by 10, and that is, or by less, and there is like 5 minutes left, you just should do the hack Adams. You stop the game. You make sure that Houston cannot go on a scoring sprint. They cannot make 3-pointers, and then that's it. It's good for you. But yeah, I think when you're losing, it's not a good strategy, this one. And last thing, I want to be quick with this series. I want to say that I feel like Golden State, through Game 5, they gave it as a loss too early. Early in the third quarter, when it's true that they were down big, 20 something or even 30, and they were like, "Yeah, we are done. We're gonna go to Game 6." In my opinion, this was an error, because even with the bench players, they were able to come back a bit, and they had a game. Actually, they came back to 12. So I think it was a mistake. I think playing the whole bet in Game 6 was a mistake, and it's proven now, because you never know what happens in one game. And I will say even more. I think in Game 6 they also threw the game too early. You were still like 3 minutes left, and you were down 15. I know it's hard, but you have the best shooter in the world, and you have many good players, and who knows if you can score like a couple of threes and then get a steal, get a bucket. You're there. I don't think you can, in this NBA of high scoring, I don't think you can give the game that early with 3 minutes left and 15 down. We have seen bigger comebacks than that. We have seen comebacks of 7 points. Look at the Indiana Pacers and Milwaukee comeback of 7 points in 40 seconds. So I didn't get it. I feel like they threw it again too quickly, too early. Also, to add to that, it's true that Golden State Warriors, the Bay, the ambience was super quiet, and I think this has to do with the fact that they could not yell defense because they were fouling Steven Adams. So it's like they could not even the stands could get into it because there was nothing to get to it. It was like completely flat game when you start doing Haka Adams. Now, predictions for Game 7. What do I think will happen? I feel like Houston is going to do their game, as they have been doing. Solid and good game. I think it matters more, and it's going to be more about whether Warriors have a great game or not. And especially whether Warriors rotational players, what I mentioned at the beginning, will score, will make their open shots or not. I think that's going to be key. I predict that they might win in 7 in Houston. I think it can happen that. And I think that will happen. But I'm not so sure. And well, let's see. Again, Houston, very props to them. But yeah, I think it's more up to Warriors whether they do an excellent game or they do a good game and they lose. So yeah. We move on to the next one. And now I move on to talking about the conference semifinals from the East that are already going to take place. We know the 4 teams that advanced in the first round. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is the Boston Celtics versus the New York Knicks. So Boston Celtics, who finished second in the East in the regular season with 61 wins and 21 losses, and New York Knicks, who finished third in the East with 51 wins and 31 losses. The record of the teams in the last month of regular season is 13-3 for Boston, the third best record of the NBA, and New York 9 wins, 8 losses. In the whole season, Boston has had the second best offense of the league, New York the 5th best offense. Boston was the 5th best defense, New York the 14th best defense. And overall, net rating, Boston is the 3rd best team, New York is the 8th best team. Another key stats that I find that I see some differences in between both teams is that Boston, in terms the ratio of shooting 3-pointers of the whole field goals that they attempt, they are the first team. They shoot 54% of their shots from the 3-point line. In the other hand, New York is the second to last team. They are the 28th team doing that. They shoot only the 38% of their shots from the 3-point line. That's a big difference, and let's see what happens here. Also, I want to mention that in terms the same thing, but for free throw attempts, Boston is the team that attempts the less free throws per field goal attempts out of the whole league. The head-to-head in between both teams, they have played each other 4 times, and the 4 games, Boston has won it. And the average of margin of victory has been of 16 points in favor of Boston. 125 for Boston, 109 for Knicks. And the key here is that Boston's offense is better than average against the Knicks. And it comes especially from their 3-point percentage. Usually, during the regular season, Boston is shooting 37% from 3. Against the Knicks, they are shooting 43.5%. That's the main difference, because the shooting attempts, the total field goals of both teams were the same during the 4 games that they play each other. It's just that Boston knocked down at a better rate their 3-pointers. And yeah, New York's offense was a bit worse. So actually, New York has a tough time because their defense, they didn't play good defense in the 3-point line for Boston, and their offense didn't work as good as usually. So yeah, they struggle, let's say. Key players for this series, Jalen Brunson, of course, he plays at his level against Boston, 27 points and 5 assists of average in those 4 games. Karl Anthony Towns, 20 points and 12 rebounds per game in those 4 games, a bit lower than his usual averages. Jason Tatum went nuts against the Knicks, 33.5 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds against them. On the other hand, Jaylen Brown went a bit quiet against them, only 16 points against the Knicks. Now, a bit of context. From a matchup standpoint, I feel like this series I kind of balance because both teams play 5-man out with a lineup of that everyone can shoot with both Porzingis and Towns on the 5. Then the Knicks have Anunoby and Bridges to defend the Jays, so they can defend each other. It's true that Branson might struggle with Drew Holiday. For me, one of the best defenders in the guard position from the league. It is also true that Boston has more depth with Horford, Cornet, Hauser, and Pritchard. Well, they have more depth, or they use it, right? Knicks and Tom Thibodeau, they don't. And I feel like the main difference, more than talent, is just the style of play. And the Knicks have a very, very heliocentric play style around Branson, around the sun god Branson, and they isolate a lot with him. On the other hand, Boston plays faster, a more passing and moving game, and just letting it fly from 3 when they are open. What else? Yeah, I think Boston, if they play with Horford and Porzingis on the court together, which they do sometimes, they have an advantage on the rebound, on the boards. And I'm interested on seeing this matchup between Porzingis and Towns. They both are unicorns, and I would like to see who takes, who's the better unicorn. Let's see. In terms of physicality, I feel like both teams come from a very physical series. I think Orlando made Boston struggle a lot, and they got, they have the injuries of that. And the Knicks come from a very tough series. So I think in terms of intensity and level of physicality, both teams are at the same level. My prediction is that Boston plays a different basketball, plays a better basketball, and I think they will win the series. I would say in 5. I think maybe Knicks win 1 game at home. But I will not be surprised if it's in 4. Like I said before, I think it's not a lineup issue. I think the talent that Knicks have is very good, and I think they have similar kind of pieces, heavy forward, a lot of forwards in both teams. All the teams can shoot from 3. But again, the play style is much efficient and much more effective, the one from Boston. And I think they will go and win in 5. The other conference semifinals from the East that I want to talk about are the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Indiana Pacers. Cleveland, first seed in the East, 64 wins, 18 losses. Indiana, 4th in the East, 50 wins, 32 losses in the regular season. In the last month, the records of the teams were Cavaliers 9-7. Last month of regular season, not taking into consideration playoff. Indiana 13-4. 4th best record in the last month. During the whole season, Cavaliers have been the best offense in the league. Indiana were 9th in offense. In defense, Cavaliers were 8th. Indiana 13th. In total net rating, Cavaliers were the 2nd best team after Oklahoma. And Indiana were the 9th best team in the season. Now I want to also mention key elements, key stats for both teams. Also talking about this ratio of 3-point field goals versus compared to the total field goal attempts. Cavaliers as well heavy in the shooting 3-pointers. They are 4th in the whole league. Indiana, on the other hand, not that much. They are 20th in terms of shooting 3-pointers. Which is curious because I feel like Indiana shoots very quickly and maybe shots out of 3s, but maybe they don't shoot that many from 3 and they also tag the rim a lot. Now, talking about the head-to-heads, they have faced each other 4 times, but one doesn't count because it was at the end of the season. Both teams were playing with the deep bench players. If we count the only 3 games that matter, it is 2-1 for Indiana, which is kind of surprising. Indiana defense has worked very well against Cleveland. They have made him, and their offense has maintained their level. So the defense of Indiana has made that Cleveland, from usually averaging 122 points, they went down to 112 points against Indiana. On the other hand, Indiana's offense was almost the same as their average. So that's the key. That's key. In terms of context, I feel like both teams, same with the other series, I feel like they're a bit similar in the way that they play. They both play fast. They both play quick. They also play in a very team way. They move the ball. Whoever gets it can shoot it. I feel like both teams like to play quick, and I feel like we might see a 3-point contest in between these teams. Let's see who makes the most. Also, I think Indiana is very underrated. I think they have done a fantastic second half of the season, and I think they were clearly superior to Milwaukee in these playoffs. Key to the series, I see an interesting and difficult matchup for Cleveland in defense, because I don't know who's going to guard Siakam and Halliburton. Is Cleveland going to put Evan Mobley on Siakam? If so, Siakam might be a bit quicker, but it's fine. It's fine. Yeah. Then, if you don't put Mobley, if you put, for example, DeAndre Hunter, you start DeAndre Hunter on Siakam, who is going to guard Tyrese Halliburton? That's another question, because neither Mitchell or Garland are great defenders. So I feel like there is a bit of matchup difficulties for Cleveland. Also, Jared Allen is going to be drawn out of the paint because Miles Turner can shoot from 3, so Jared Allen might have to come out of the paint. And in the other side, I think like Indiana is a bit more prepared in terms of matchups. For example, they have Nembhard and Naismith, both guard defenders to defend Mitchell and Garland. And then, I feel like maybe Siakam can play defense on Mobley. I don't think that will be such a big issue. I think like Mobley is mostly a defensive-minded guy. So and also, last thing to say is that I feel like Indiana is coming from a much tougher series at a much higher level of intensity than what Cleveland comes from. And actually, I think that they might start stronger, Indiana, than Cleveland. Going through that to my prediction, I think Cleveland is going to start losing this series. I think they might have to come back into it. And I think they will win it in 7. That's my prediction. I think Cleveland, like I said, starts slowly. Indiana's coming at a much faster pace, much more intensity. They still home court, but at the end, I feel like Cleveland pulls it off and they win in Game 7 at home. That means that the finals of the East, in my opinion, will be Boston versus Cleveland, which is what everyone thinks will happen anyways. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope you're enjoying the playoffs as much as I am. I hope you follow and subscribe and like this video. And I hope to see you and talk to you soon. That's all for today. Bye-bye.